good morning. Happy Monday, PASW staff, clients, and we have our friends joining us. So we didn't have an assignment last week, but we re-looked at Star Wars and your great work finding the right music for that cantina scene that John Williams wrote kind of in the tribute style to Benny Goodman in the big band era, which seems weird to do a movie about space in the future and to go backwards, but it's interesting how composers work and how directors work with composers to find the best thing. So I thought that we would look at maybe one of the most famous TV shows, not Star Wars, but keep it in space. Let's just keep it in space for a little bit. And I'm sure Matthew Payne's going to be excited about this because a lot of fans are, have been obsessed since the early days of this show. So today we're going to relook at the TV series, the original Star Trek.
They have thrilled us with their adventures, amazed us with their discoveries, and inspired us with their courage. Their ship has journeyed beyond imagination. Her name has become legend. Her crew, the finest ever assembled. We have traveled beside them from one corner of the galaxy to the other. They have been our guides, our protectors, and our friends.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before. Enough talk, let's get on with it.
I push these impulse engines too hard, they'll blow apart.
I am a logical man.
Why don't you tell me I'm an attractive young lady?
Are you insane?
I'm a doctor, not a bricklayer. You're a healer. There's a patient. Live long and prosper. There are things you can do with a lady. Beam me up, Mr. Spock. Live long and prosper.
So Star Trek, the original series, there's so many to keep track of, but we're going back to 1966, about 10 years before Star Wars, right? So this is an adventure, science fiction. 3 seasons of this show, and we'll talk about kind of what happened, but science fiction. Gene Roddenberry is the creator of this and had this idea and wrote this idea down that would change the world, actually. And basically there's so many plots and stuff, but basically follows these adventures, in space. And the starship is USS Enterprise, and the crew on this Enterprise, and what happens, and all these stories that happen. So interesting to think that actually it wasn't a success in the beginning. The ratings were low, and so NBC canceled it just after 3 seasons, after like 79 episodes. And then later syndication, they started replaying it, and then it kind of got a cult following in the 70s, and then started influencing just more the popular culture of TV watching and TV viewers, and people started really getting back into it, and then now it's a huge media franchise, just like Star Wars is. Now there's like 11 TV series, 13 feature films, there's books, there's video games, there's toys. So maybe one of the most famous TV shows of all time for sure. And it all goes back to 1964 when Roddenberry kind of came up with this detailed science fiction draft. So we're here for the music, because the TV, I've never been a Star Trek fan. I just don't know it that well. And I was not shocked, but a little bit when we're going to look at the opening credits. When I listened to the music in the opening credits, I was kind of taken aback. Maybe let's watch them and I'll tell you why. Here are the opening titles.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
So, honestly, because I know of Star Trek, didn't know the series, didn't watch the opening titles, I was somewhat pleased because the music does not sound space-like when the theme comes in. You know, in the beginning with the narration, it's a little mysterious, but then all of a sudden this splashy lounge music comes in, and I was like, oh wow, and I like the music a lot. So Alexander Courage, Sandy, they called him. Courage was the composer. He was an assistant and orchestrator for Jerry Goldsmith, who's was one of the most famous film composers. We've looked at Goldsmith's music. Courage was hired by Roddenberry to score this original series, and so because Goldsmith said, well, you should use him, I'm a little too busy, or he turned down the job, one of the two. And he'd known Courage. Goldsmith had knew Courage from his working with him as an orchestrator. Alexander Courage orchestrated tons of musicals and movies throughout his time. So very accomplished composer and orchestrator, but then wrote this. So it's just cool how it turns into, from space, sounds into something splashy. And when we think of splashy lounge music, we know it because we've talked about these guys. Henry Mancini, right? And David Rose. We've just revisited them in the last year. So if this is 1966, this is this is when Mancini's kind of the most famous. I mean, Breakfast at Tiffany's is 61, but during the 60s, we looked at adult contemporary music, lounge music, because the Beatles were going on and the pop, rock invasion, British invasion, all that kind of stuff. But the adults were listening to records at home, and dinner parties and cocktail music. That was the music for the adults, not the kids. So it makes sense that there would be somewhat of a lounge feel because of the time it was written. But I think it's great. I think it's splashy and fun. So that was what Alexander Courage did. So let's take a look at the credits without any music or narration. So find something that sounds like that. It can be an old lounge score. It can be something space-like. I want to give you guys creativity. It doesn't have to be lounge music. It doesn't have to sound too much like this. If you find something that fits at science fiction and dramatic, that's fine. We don't have to perfectly match this because I want you to have fun with it. But don't use Star Wars because that's too recognizable. So that's the only parameters, and no lyrics, of course. So come up with something and get something to me by tomorrow. That would be great. And we're going to make it a great week. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.